So just to let you know, the best way to start collecting for your little Driftwood Village is to start at the beach. See? That's how it all starts. Hello. So once you're home with your driftwood, you're going to want to rinse them off really well. There's a lot of sand on them. Sometimes there's stuff just stuck on, and they just look a lot prettier once they're rinsed off, and they smell a lot better too. So I just soak them in some warm water. I'm using my laundry sink and a scrub brush to scrub off anything that might be stuck on there. And that's about it. So the first step once you get home with the driftwood is definitely rinse them off. Once you have the driftwood rinsed off, you're going to lay them out to dry. This takes several days, and I usually flip the wood over and turn them every few days. And so you're just making sure that they're completely dry before moving on to the next step. It's been several days. The driftwood has dried, and now I'm going to start putting together a pattern of what I think might look okay for one of the Driftwood Villages. I have several pieces here just kind of lined up. I think that looks pretty good. I use a tall one in the middle and then go down on the sides. But you can keep playing around with it and do whatever you think might look good. So that's the next step. I've moved the wood that I'm going to use for my Driftwood Village up onto my workshop here. I've got some newspaper laid out to catch the glue that I'm going to use to keep these all together. So this is the look that I like. This is going to be the front, and this is the look that I think is going to be pretty good. So we don't glue them from the top. I glue from the bottom. So I'm going to flip them over. Hopefully this makes sense. Taking it and I'm flipping this over. So this is the back side. Right? I hope that makes sense what I'm doing here. This is the back side. And I'm just going to make sure they're all flipped over really tight, close together. And once we like the pattern that they're at, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I've got them all lined up the way that I like them, and I'm ready to seal them in with the glue. And through trial and error, this is the best glue to use when you're doing any, I would say any art crafts that you need to hold something together. It's clear and it dries flexible, waterproof. Everything I've made with this goop glue has stayed together. I have not had one issue. So this is what I recommend using. And once you have them all lined up, like I said, you take the glue. It's really messy, but where the wood is touching, I just put the glue in a goop like that. Sometimes it's a large area, sometimes it's just a tiny area. You don't really need a lot. So I just carry on and do that and connect all the wood with the glue. And then we're going to let that cure for 24 hours. And then we're going to do it again. I do it a second time. And then let it cure for another 24 hours. And that's pretty much it. It's been 24 hours, and this is what it looks like when it's dried. This is the back side. And so I'm going to take the goop glue and I'm going to go back over it a second time and let that cure for another 24 hours. This is the back side. I've put the glue on 2 times. And it's completely dry now. I've let it cure for at least 24 hours both times. And now we flip it over to the front. And we're checking to see if any glue has seeped through any of the cracks. And it has over here, so you're going to want to get that out of there. I cut it out. You can use a little knife, scissors. I use tweezers and pull and then cut with the knife. It's really stretchy, so it's pretty easy to get out of there. So you just want to have a clean look on the front side. I got all the glue off the front side and it looks like it's ready to be painted. Sometimes you may want to sand one or all of them. It doesn't really matter. These ones here look pretty good, so I'm not going to do any sanding. I'll start painting. So for the paint, I always mix it. I mix my own color and I make a lot. So I have leftover when I'm done painting, and I put on the windows and everything. I can do touch-ups. So I always have it in a jar where I can do touch-ups. So it's up to you, the pattern, how you want to use. I like using these two colors a lot. It's a burgundy and a kind of like a turquoise. Those are my favorite to use for these. Just wanted to let you guys know the paint that I use is just acrylic. I get them from the dollar store. Here it is all painted. I just picked a couple to paint. I don't paint them all. I like to leave some the wood color. I go and paint right in the creases. So make sure you're getting really down in there with a tiny brush to get the creases. I also paint the back. It just gives it a cleaner look, and especially if you're giving them as a gift. The next part of the Driftwood Village is adding accent pieces. So I usually like to add a piece of wood along the bottom. I like it to go along the whole length of the bottom. And I like to put in little accent pieces, so maybe something like this. And I like to put roofs on some of the buildings, so we may do something like that. This one here I cut, and I'm going to glue it together, but maybe put it, you know, on this one here. So yeah, you can just play around with the wood, little pieces of wood, and try to make, you know, some roofs, and just add some extra accent pieces. I have the accent pieces all glued on now. I let that cure for 24 hours. The next step is to paint doors and windows. I use black and white. Some windows, on some of them I'll do white with the black trim, and some I'll do the black window with the white trim. And I use tiny brushes, and I also use toothpicks. I find they come in handy for the trim because they're pointy, and any mistakes I make, I still have the extra paint in the jars that I can touch up. Howdy folks, I am very happy to show you that I have all of the windows and doors completed. I painted some of the roofs and gave it a little bit of color. And I did all my touch-ups, and I'm happy with the way this turned out. So the next step is to put on a backing. I like to use a hook and wire in case somebody wants to hang it on a wall. I just get this little kit at the dollar store here, and it has the hooks. I use 2 of these hooks like this, and the wire. And I also got these wire cutters at the dollar store as well. We are now looking at the back side, and as you can see, I got the 2 hooks in and the wire, so it can be hung on a wall if the person who owns this wants to. And here we have it hanging on a wall.